Hi friends, I hope you all are well. My name is Mana Bhardwaj. I welcome you to today's video. In this video, I am going to discuss with you the central problems of an economy and solutions to these problems. You all are watching Economicsify and let's get into the video. Whether rich or poor, developed or underdeveloped, every economy goes through these three problems. First is what to produce, second is how to produce, and third is for whom to produce. These central problems are also called problems of reallocation of resources. Let's discuss them one by one. If we start with what to produce, this problem has two dimensions. First is what goods are to be produced, and second is what quantity of goods are to be produced. Broadly, goods are classified as capital goods and consumer goods. Production of both capital and consumer goods is essential for an economy. Wait. Do you know about these goods? Never mind. Let me tell you about them. First comes capital goods are those goods that are used in producing other goods rather than being bought by consumers. These goods are basically used by manufacturers. Examples of such goods are tools, machinery, vehicles, buildings, computers, construction equipment, etc. Whereas consumer goods are those goods that are bought and used by consumers for direct consumption rather than by manufacturers for producing other goods. Examples of such goods are food, beverages, clothing, shoes, gasoline, etc. As we all know that resources are scarce in nature. If these limited resources are largely used for the production of consumer goods, the present generation will enjoy good quality of life. But lack of capital goods would mean lack of future growth. Due to this, future generations would suffer. Likewise, if the limited resources are largely used for the production of capital goods, the future growth would be high. But lack of consumer goods would mean that the present generation will have low standard of living. So we can say that production of consumer goods is essential to raise standard of living of present generation, whereas production of capital goods is essential for future growth. As you guys would have understood what goods are to be produced. Now, the question arises how much of consumer goods and how much of capital goods? Because more of consumer goods would mean less of capital goods, and more of capital goods would mean less of consumer goods. It's important to understand that the loss of quantity of consumer goods is the cost of producing more of capital goods. Likewise, loss of quantity of capital goods is the cost of producing more of consumer goods. In economics, this is called opportunity cost. Moving further to how to produce, it refers to the technique of production. Broadly, there are two techniques of production. First is labor intensive technique and second is capital intensive technique. Labor intensive technique implies greater use of labor than capital, while capital intensive technique implies greater use of capital than labor. Labor intensive technique promotes employment, whereas capital intensive technique promotes efficiency. It accelerates pace of growth. The choice between the labor intensive and capital intensive techniques becomes a problem because labor intensive technique helps reduce unemployment while capital intensive technique accelerates GDP growth. The root cause of problem is scarcity of resources. In countries like India, capital is so scarce that fuller utilization of labor is not possible. Whereas in rich countries, labor is so scarce that fuller utilization of capital becomes a problem. For whom to produce is the problem of choice between social equality on the one hand and GDP growth on the other. As we all know that there are two sections of the society, the rich and the poor. Limited resources do not permit production of goods for all sections of the society to the extent desired. If GDP growth is to be promoted, social justice is to be sacrificed to some extent. And if equality is to be promoted, GDP growth is to be sacrificed to some extent. There are two additional specific problems to underdeveloped economies. First is problem of underutilization of resources and second is problem of growth of resources. In most underdeveloped economies like India, the resources are not fully utilized. This means that actual output remains less than potential output. Underutilization of resources occur due to various reasons. Some of them are lack of work culture in underdeveloped countries and second is frequent strikes and lockouts which leads to loss of output. Development of underdeveloped economies is possible only when they discover more resources, but the discovery of resources remains limited owing to lack of research facilities. Underdeveloped economies continue to stagnate at low level of GDP. These economies take more time to shift to the higher level of GDP. Moving further to solution of central problems in different economies. There are three different economies. First is centrally planned economy, second is market economy and third is mixed economy. In the previous video, I have told you guys about different types of economies. I have given the link of that video in the description box. You can watch it by clicking on it. Different economies solve the central problems differently. Let's begin with centrally planned economy. In these economies, decisions relating to what, how, and for whom to produce are taken by some central authority of the government. All decisions are taken to maximize social welfare, not to maximize profits. Those goods and services will be produced which the central authority finds as most useful for the society. That technique of production will be adopted which is socially most desirable. For example, in situation of mass unemployment, labor intensive technique will be preferred so that unemployment is reduced. More goods will be produced for poorer section of the society even when production of such goods is not profitable. Next comes market economies. These economies are free economies, which means that producers are free to decide what, how, and for whom to produce. They make their decisions on the basis of demand and supply forces of the market. All decisions are taken to maximize profits, not to maximize social welfare. Those goods and services will be produced which the producer finds most profitable for him. They will always use that technique which maximizes efficiency and minimizes costs. More goods will be produced for the rich section of the society. Poorer section is often ignored. It causes problem of economic divide. Last comes mixed economies. These economies are those economies which share the merits of both centrally planned economy and market economy. The decision relating to what, how, and for whom to produce are neither entirely left to the market forces nor to any central authority. Both market forces as well as central authority play their role. While market forces tend to maximize profits, the central authority focuses on social welfare. Thank you for watching the video till the end. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like and share the video. I will meet you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye and stay safe.